Jonathan Schroyer here, Mission Matters Network. Everybody knows by now, if you're listening, that I am the host of the channel of the Future of Service. We are so excited to have a great leader, a founder. He has a lot of titles: president, CEO, executive chairman. He doesn't really like any of them, from what I understand, because he just likes to be a guy that's in there that's helping people. So super excited to have Ted Rubin of ActivEngage with us. Ted, why don't you give us an introduction to yourself so the listeners get to know you a little bit better?
Thanks, Jonathan. I really appreciate you having me on the show. I, kind of came out of the automotive industry most recently. I've been in the automotive industry for about 30 years. Prior to that, I was in technology. Prior to that, I was in real estate. And I've had about 5 companies. This is the 5th one that I have right now. So I've started a lot of different things and just evolved through them over the years. They've all been some type of service, interestingly, where we're offering some kind of a service that's a reoccurring service to customers. And it's kind of evolved even more to become a service that's very specifically tied to a type of customer service as well. So that's basically who I am. I've kind of lived in automotive and breathed it for close to 30 years at this point. So that's scary.
I love it. And then you found it and you're disrupting it as well, which I think is really cool, which naturally we'll get into throughout the podcast. So the first question that I have for you, Ted, is from your perspective, what is the future of service? What does it look like?
Well, I mean, I think that, what you're sort of coming to right now is that everybody wants to be a VIP, right? They want to feel like they have a connection to their vendor in such a way that it's like a special connection, and it's a superior vendor, and they're kind of like on the inside of it. And I think that the future of service is figuring out how to make customers feel very special. Mm-hmm. And make them feel like they're really, they have the ticket to get past the door that says, only or access only and things like that. Because it's important for people to feel like they've achieved something, like they want something, even as they're receiving, customer service or a product or a service or whatever it is. And I think that customers are going to migrate to products and services where that becomes more important to the vendor of the product and service, where they're going to offer this premium capability. And you're seeing it, started a while ago. It started a lot, with private jets and things like that. And you're seeing the ones that offer the specialty services. I just read a whole article just the other day about some smaller jet companies that are offering very particular services, like you can check in 20 minutes before you get on the plane, they have these kind of accelerated service things, while you're in the air. And there's lots of products out there now. I was looking at a luggage the other day, and you can customize everything, and they're very interactive with you, about the pieces, what it does, how it works, and stuff like that. So I think that products are products, and there's always going to be new products. But I think that as we move forward, a lot of the products are going to be competitive with each other. They're similar or they're same, unless they're services. But as products go, I think the customer service, the way you treat the customer, and the way that customer perceives the vendor's desire to want to satisfy their needs, mm-hmm. is going to make those vendors more successful if they're able to do it really well. And it doesn't mean expense. It just means they have to be thoughtful about it. And I think it's going to make those who just go, look, there it is. It's on the shelf. You can pick it if you want it. Yeah. And, you'll have some success and you're creating bulk and everything. But I think it's going to get tougher and tougher. You're even starting to see some movements with Amazon. So they're the king of, here it is on the shelf. Pick it if you want it. Yeah. But they're starting to move in directions where they're saying, hey, we need to offer some superior service or interaction or follow up on things, and here's how we're going to do it. And so that definitely seems to me where the direction of the future of service is going to be.
I mean, I really love how you talked about everybody wants to be a VIP. I mean, that's true. Like everybody wants to feel special. So it's going to be the answer to the next question is going to be interesting, is what's going to be the force multiplier that's going to make that possible, where everyone can feel special? Or maybe the companies that figure it out, what's going to be that force multiplier, do you think?
I think that it has to do with technology.
Yeah.
I think it's about technological access to the data itself. Shared access to data that different pieces of technology may have, and that will bring in the ability for you to, have a higher quality conversation with the customer, right? So, if you have access to data, you're looking for better ways to interact with the customers and with your employees, right? That will give them better treatment. And a lot of this has to do, with, if you treat your employees really well and they love what they do, then they're going to treat their customers really well. And if you don't, then they won't. So that's, I think, a big piece of it. But, overall, the more that you can impact, the conversation with data that's not obtuse with the customer, where you're going, hey, Bob, I know that you're married and have 3 kids, and I'm going to give you this, but some of that background information, or information about what that customer's done in the past, or more dense information about products or utility or how other people are doing things, and just being able to create a relationship with the customer where there's quid pro quo. The customer believes that you're interested in them. There's a lot of active listening going on, so that you as a customer feel like the person that you're interacting with is paying attention to you, or even if there's no actual person involved, that your navigation through the process of buying a product or service gives you the feeling that, oh, okay, well, they really thought this out. I'm sure that you've had plenty of interactions with systems or buying services, or just, trying to purchase a product, where you're going through it and it's like, why would they do that? why would they ask that question or put that there? Or, why did they hide that link that everybody, of course, is going to need? And I think that, more attention is going to be brought, even more attention is going to be brought, not just to navigation, but, what are the resources that the customer needs? Do they have an outlet to ask questions and to be interactive? We're a communications company. We do messaging and all types of messaging interactive with text and chat and phone and emails and everything. But really, sometimes it's just, the process of going through the website, that it was well thought out and that the customer can kind of navigate through things. But commonly, that you do need to give them a resource. No one wants to feel like, okay, I've, gone through what I can go through and I still have a question, and you're just at a dead end. You don't want to feel like you walked into a dead end and, okay, I'm stuck here and I can't go forward, and I don't really want to go backward, but there's nowhere else to go. I hate that.
That's the worst feeling. It reminds me of when I was on one of these famous phone trees for companies I don't mention. And they said, okay, we're going to pass you to this next person, which was like the 7th transfer. And I was like, hello, hello. And then all of a sudden there was like a click. And I was like, wait,
that's the best.
What? Yeah. That's that frustration you're talking about. No, I loved how you started off talking about the importance of tech and data, because I think that definitely, as you think about building out that future customer journey, or I'll call it a customer relationship, because you called it that, a customer relationship. You have to understand the data, understand who they are. There's going to be some tech components, but I loved what you said about midstream. You said it's all about the conversation, and then you moved on to relationship. So you were kind of guiding us through this process of, you need all of these things, but at the end of the day, people do business with people, and they engage and they want to be heard. Going back to, they want to be feel special. So the companies that understand all 3 of those components and build those meaningful relationships, I think, are going to be the companies that kind of help their customers feel like they are VIPs.
Yeah, absolutely. I love the point that you made, that people buy things from people. That's what happens. And especially as we're primarily in the automotive industry, and so you're talking about a very expensive product, and people want it's back to the beginning. People want to feel like a VIP. They also want to feel like they're doing the right thing, right? They want an advocate. They want someone who's endorsing what they're doing or saying, hey, as you're choosing this, be aware of X, Y, and Z. What do you think about that? And then they choose, and then you either endorse that or you say, well, that's a pitfall here or whatever. I want to make sure that I'm guiding you correctly. And people really, that's how you build that relationship. That's how people really become engaged. And they feel tied to you, and they feel like there's trust, which is necessary for a successful sale. And there's so much that's tied to reviews and perception of the success of the sale from the consumer side now, that if you're not engaging and if you're not really promoting like a healthy relationship between the store or the vendor and the customer, where the customer feels like they can rely on you and that they're getting the right information, and that gets extended. You're asking about this force multiplier, as you have more data about buying habits, about this individual's habits, you can expedite the process significantly on their behalf. And make them, there's things that you don't want to do. Obviously, you don't want to go, this is what you want. That's not where you want to go. But you can absolutely, it's like if I went and a friend of mine said to me, hey, I need you to buy me a radio. Well, I'm going to do a better job buying him a radio than the guy in the street, because I know this guy, I know what he likes, I know the kind of music he listens to. If I'm a thoughtful friend, then I'll pay attention to, he likes this type of music, so he needs these features in a radio and in speaker and things like that. And so it's that kind of detail that you can procure through the conversation and through the technology that gives a really successful sale, where the customer's like, wow, that was a really great experience. I got what I want, even if I didn't know that I wanted some of those things superficially when I engage.
So it's almost like we're rolling into our two key insight part of the podcast, because what you're saying is the relationship becomes table stakes, and advocacy becomes like one of the new things that's going to drive retention, stickiness, and so forth. You're giving me what I didn't know that I need, but now I can't live without it. It's that emotional affinity. What other key insights do you have that you want to share?
I think those are two very significant ones, the ones that you just mentioned. I think that responsiveness to the customer, being there and being available to the customer and interacting with them. So, customers buy all day long, all night long, and there's lots of different time zones in the US. And depending if you're a company that delivers products outside of the US, people are available all the time. Daytime is all day and night. So, you need to have people who are empowered and that can be thoughtful and be aware of how to have good conversations. There's a lot of people who have personal individual success with creating relationships and having conversations, but there's no doubt that it is a learned thing. You have to teach it. So even the best person for communicating, doesn't necessarily know how to navigate this conversation. They have to be told. So there's a lot of, in our current company, we do a ton of training and it's ongoing, and you have to make sure that they understand how to have these conversations. And we have people that are around 24/7. And then the responsiveness to the customer, the fact that you need to know, hey, I need to be there when they interact. I need to pick up, within a few seconds. Then as time goes on and we're going back and forth, I can take some time if I need to look something up, or if they're asking me a question I have to research, then there's an expectation of that. But at the same time, you still need to be responsive. You can't have an inbound queue from a customer and, respond 3 minutes later or 5 minutes later, even 90 seconds.
Or let it busy out, right? You can't do that.
I mean, everybody knows, if you click on a link to chat with someone and you start counting, you would be losing your mind by 20, let alone a minute, or two.
For sure.
So it's, I blame Google. they've made everything so that you can get it, they're talking about fractions of seconds to do a search to find out, what the name of that item was 300 years ago, in the
It's
whole
true.
of whatever. But that's where we are. So that's what we have to supply.
It's true. It's true. Yeah. As we wrap up, I'm reminded of a conversation I had with a video game exec about 4 years ago. In the mobile video game space, you get the game for free, and then if you want to move through the game faster, you maybe pay for upgrade events and so forth.
Right.
So we had this customer that reached out to me, that had spent maybe $20,000 in the game, $30,000 in the game, and I was talking to the executive, that didn't want to put any more budget in place for responsiveness. By the time it got to me, it was like a tier 3, tier 4 escalation. Right? And then they're like, why do we have to respond to this customer in less than 24 hours? They're having this conversation. Right. And I said, well, think of it like this. Like if you went and bought a $30,000 truck from a dealership and you had a problem, you would expect that if you showed up the next day, they would be there to solve your problem, not a day later or 2 days later. And it really changed their mindset. And I think this is what you're talking about as well, is that expectation, but also that value that customers, they expect and to you to deliver. And I think you've touched on some amazing things today. We already know what the title of our podcast is going to be. We'll talk about it after. But really, everybody wants to feel special. Everyone wants to be a VIP. Ted, Rubin, you've really given us some really nuggets today on this topic. For everyone, he's from ActivEngage. He doesn't like titles, but he founded his company 15 years ago, which is amazing. Where can people find you, Ted?
They can find me on LinkedIn. It's Ted Rubin for ActivEngage. There's actually another Ted Rubin, so he's not with ActivEngage. So, but I'm on LinkedIn. You can get us at www.activeengage.com, and all the information is there. And if you want to connect to me directly or through any of the Facebook, Twitter, any of those things, then I'm also there as well.
Nice. Thank you so much for the time, Ted. Again, this is Jonathan Schroyer, Mission Matters Network, the host for the Future of Service podcast channel. I'm the Chief CX Innovation Officer at Arise Gaming. Until next time, serve well.